Tendons are probably one of the most misunderstood parts of the body. The old thinking was simple. If your tendon hurts, it must be inflamed. So we rest it, take anti-inflammatories, maybe even get steroid injections. But here's the problem. For most long-term tendon pain, that approach doesn't actually fix it. And now we know why. Because most chronic tendon pain isn't really about inflammation, it's more about the structure of the tendon breaking down over time. Collagen, the stuff that gives the tendon its strength, start to lose its organized structure. And treatments that only target inflammation don't fix that. Over the last 15 to 20 years, research has completely changed how we understand tendon pain. And once you understand this new model, the way you treat your tendon changes completely, and the results can be generally life-changing. A tendon is a structure that connects your muscle to your bone. When the muscle contracts, the tendon transfers the force to your body. Tendons aren't just passive ropes, they're like springs. They actually store and release energy. A great example is your Achilles tendon. When you run, every time your foot hits the ground, the Achilles stretches slightly, like a spring being loaded. Then as you push off, you release the stored energy to help you propel you forward. And here's the interesting part. Around 40 to 50% of the energy used in running comes from the elastic recoil, not from muscle works harder. If the Achilles didn't do this, running would fail almost twice as hard. Now structurally, tendons are made mostly type 1 collagen. These collagen fibers are arranged in very neat parallel lines, perfectly designed to handle pulling force. That's what makes tendons incredibly strong. And this structure takes a long time to build. If it gets damaged, it takes even longer to repair. Tendon problems, what we call tendinopathy, don't usually happen overnight. They develop gradually. We now understand them as a progression. There's a model called the tendon continuum, developed by researchers Dr. Jill Cook. It breaks tendon problems into different stages. Stage 1, reactive tendinopathy. This is the early stage. It usually happens after the sudden increase in load, like doing too much too soon, increasing running distance, or starting a new activity. The tendon reacts by becoming thicker and slightly stiffer. The cells inside the tendon become more active and produce more of a gel-like material between fibers. At this point, the structure isn't badly damaged yet. The good news is, the stage is reversible. If you reduce the load and give the tendon time to adapt, it can return to normal. Stage 2, tendon disrepair. If the overload continues, things start to change. The collagen structure becomes more disorganized, the tendon is trying to repair itself, but it's not doing a great job. New blood vessels and nerves start growing into the tendon. That might sound helpful, but in this case, it's actually linked to pain and poor healing. Now the tendon is weaker, recovering is still possible, but it requires the right kind of loading, not just rest. Stage 3, degenerative tendinopathy. This is the more advanced stage. Parts of the tendon are now significantly damaged. Some areas lose their normal collagen structure completely, and those areas won't fully recover. The tendon as a whole becomes weaker. When tendons rupture, like Achilles tendons rupture, it usually happens in a tendon that already had this kind of degeneration. So the best treatment for most tendon problem is not rest, it's loading the tendon, specifically heavy, slow, resistant training. When you load a tendon properly, you stimulate the cells inside it to produce stronger, more organized collagen. You're essentially helping rebuild the tendon from the inside. One of my favorite programs is this. You stand on a step with your heels off the edge, you rise up on both feet, then slowly lower yourself down. Take about 3 seconds to go down, pause at the bottom, do 3 sets of 15 reps. And over time you add load like wearing a backpack with weights or using machines. A lot of people expect something more advanced or high-tech, but the key is consistency and patience. Tendons don't change in a few days, they adapt over weeks and months. What to avoid is there are a few common mistakes people make are stretching the tendon aggressively at the end of range when it's painful. This can actually make things worse. Second is ignoring pain and continuing high-low activities like running without adjusting the load. Third, relying on steroid injection as long-term solutions. They may reduce pain short-term, but they can weaken the tendon over time and increase rupture risk. Pain during exercise isn't always bad. If your pain is significantly worse the next day, that's a sign you have done too much. And that's a key message. Because tendons can adapt, they can get stronger, they can remodel, but only if you load them properly, progressively, and consistently over time. And when you do that right, the results can be generally transformative.